What is up, dude bro? Spider-Avenger Miller. We are coming closer and closer to the end of the year, and now it's finally time for the video that I did promise that I would make after my top 5 video. And this video is going to specifically talk about the blasters that did come out this year that I wasn't able to put on my list, but also, again, while this has been a tricky year for blasters, there's still been a lot of really good blaster releases that I want to talk about in this video. So why don't we get to that, starting off with just each section. So I'm gonna have to click something into my hand. So now this is my laptop. This is gonna kind of be my source to kind of go over everything because there's so much that I can't think off the top of my head. That's what this is for. But stock footage will be playing over every single blaster I talk about. So why don't I mention the Desperado? The Desperado is a very cool blaster. It was a very fun blaster to handle and use. And it's something that, again, I am a little bummed didn't make it on the list because it's such a good pistol. Being able to pull it off your hip and rattle off 6 shots without having to prime back anything, it's amazing. It's one of the best feelings blasters that you can have just because double action is amazing. And it's a bummer that I didn't make it onto the list, but I highly recommend picking up 1 or 2 if you are inclined to, because it's still a phenomenal product nonetheless. I've had so much fun using it, and I prefer it over some pistols that we've gotten just because it's double action and its size. It's the kind of blaster that is literally designated to be a sidearm, and I love it so much. So the Desperado is definitely on here. Next, let's jump over to Nerf with the Destiny Ace of Spades. This is another one to where, again, I'm bummed it didn't make it onto the list, but I had to mention it on my list because, again, it's a fun product. Now, again, I don't think it's the most war practical, even though, as I say that, I literally saw a dude at my HBZ event in Boulder use one. So obviously, I was proved wrong. But the blaster itself is just an amazing product. It's, in my opinion, the best limited series blaster we have because it's the most affordable. It's probably my favorite looking. It comes from one of my favorite guns, even though I'm not a big Destiny player. But it's just an amazing product. Like, it performs decent. It works well. And I don't really know how you can hate on a blaster like that. It makes me happy that there is a limited series blaster that actually does what it's advertised, and that's, it looks like the game, and you can actually use it in a war. So that's really all I have to say about the Ace of Spades, just because it's a phenomenal product, and I love it so much. Now let's jump over to X-Shot. X-Shot is another one of those that has been kind of quiet this year, but they have a lot of really good blasters out there that I can just say I'm happy to talk about. So why don't we start off with the most controversial one, the Clip Mania, which just came out literally like last week. So here's the thing. Everyone knows that I have a unique relationship with Clip Mania right now because I didn't give it the best recommendation in my review. I still recommend you pick this one up, or I can at least say I'd still pick this one up just because it's a fun blaster. But again, until X-Shot really fixes the trigger well, because I know they are working on it now, thanks to a good source, it's going to be hard to talk about the blaster as if it's going to be well done, because I know it's already been worked on, I know it's already getting spoken about, and I already know of one other person who is having the exact same problem that I have. That's, of course, my buddy Brickosaurus227. Until the problem gets resolved, I can't fully recommend it right now, but I can still say it's a fun product. It's a good blaster for kids, and it seems like right now a lot of people are having good experience with it, so I would still recommend pick one up, but again, just be cautious with it and know that it kind of does have some issues, just not that major that I would say it's a bad pickup. Next, let's move over to the X-Shot Ranger. Now this one's a unique one because, again, this one isn't really that much of a special blaster, but it's a blaster I thought I should talk about. Because overall, the blaster is fun. If you like the Berserko, which I know a lot of people do, then pick this one up because it's overall, in my opinion, a better Berserko just because the firing of it is a little bit on par with it. It feels better for an adult to use, and it's overall still just a great blaster. Now, is it the best in a war? Of course not. However, I do think this is a good blaster to use in, let's say, a basement war or with friends. Because it's not overall a bad product, it's just because of its massive barrel length, it makes it a little inconsistent when it comes to firing blaster darts, outside blasters. But it's really fun. I enjoy it, and I think it's a good blaster to pick up, especially if you're into looking like a cool sniper. That's a really cool looking sniper in my eyes. And boy, X-Shot made a lot. So then let's move over to the X-Shot Insanity Horrifier. Now this one is unique. So again, stock footage is going to show what these blasters are because some of them I don't have. So the Horrifier is from X-Shot's newest Insanity line, which is kind of a zombie strike kind of theme to it. And the Horrifier is a unique blaster because it's essentially just a X-Shot Crusher or whatever it's called. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's made to look really cool in this kind of new skin that they have, which honestly, it's fun. I like it. Again, I probably won't end up picking one up right now. Money's a little tight right now, but also, it's not really on my list of like, it's a must buy, but it's a really good recommendation for kids who like the Zombie Strike aesthetic and are looking for a blaster like this. I personally think it's a really nice option, and I can't wait to see really what comes of it, and the Insanity line is unique. It's really fun with what they're doing with it, and I hope we get to see more basic looking blasters out of it, just because it's really fun. Then we've got the X-Shot Doomsday. The Doomsday is another one of the new Insanity line that I would say is unique. I don't know if I'd recommend it for everyone because it's only an 8-shot blaster after all. However, it's still a very fun one. I know I've heard really good things about it from Brickosaurus227 because he has one and he's had a lot of fun with it. So overall, it's really a blaster that I can recommend. That it's fun. That's how it is for a lot of the blasters on this list because overall, a lot of these blasters are just stupid fun. Stupid fun, wow. I'm just calling something stupid. But overall, like again, you kind of understand at this point, it's not really a war practical blaster, but it's a good blaster for war, especially for cinematic videos with the saw chain at the top of it. Oh dude, imagine the drilling that you could do to zombies, just like the Aaron Esser shot of his zombies video for 3 with Lord Draconical with the Nerf chainsaw. You know what I'm talking about, this scene. Oh yeah! Still just very fun. And then why don't we go over to Nerf again? Because Nerf has kind of been like up and over with a lot of unique releases, and they've got a lot that I can talk about. So why don't we talk about one of the first ones that I could think of that I do think I owe an apology. The Nerf Rival Mirage. Now, I gave this thing a pretty bad review, and I'm here to correct myself and say that I don't think this is necessarily a like bad blaster. I just wish they would have gotten the kinks worked out in it because we had to suffer from a long release period to where we barely got a release of it. And that was the most annoying part about the blaster. But then once we finally got it, it had some issues. However, I'm not going to say it's like a terrible pickup. It's meh. But I will argue that is one of the more war practical blasters out of the new Rival line that's been coming out, just because this new Rival line has been kind of weird because we haven't gotten that many like huge war practical blasters out of it, but we have gotten a lot of unique blasters, and this one is one of them because it tried something new. While I don't think it executed it perfectly because it feels like a primary that's a pistol size, I don't really like those kind of blasters. I still think it's a great pickup. And yes, I did hate on it in my review, but I'm here to correct myself and say it's not that bad. But just be cautious. It may not be your cup of tea. I know it wasn't mine, but it's not bad. And I still would recommend you pick up a Mirage, even though I recommend the Challenger a little more over the Mirage. Spoilers. Then let's go over to the most controversial series, besides what else is going to be on this list, or at least one of them, Nerf Zombie. Nerf Zombie's been kind of weird. It's been a really weird series just because overall, I don't know really what to think about it myself, because it's a unique series, but I'm not going to say it's the best series, because this has been kind of weird, because I'm pretty sure we're all going to a place where we missed Nerf Zombie Strike, and I don't know if we will ever get that back. But we at least have this to look forward to, because at least Nerf has said this will be one of the only blaster brands that uses the 50 caliber foam dart still. Unlike N-series, we're just trying to replace the 50 caliber foam dart, which I really wouldn't want to, but of course I can't win at anything like that, so what can you do? Let's talk about the driller. The driller is a unique hammershot derivative that is okay, and I think this blaster would be well suited for kids, because the whole zombie series reminds me of what Zombie Strike did for kids in the hobby, and that's make a blaster fun. I do think the driller is a kid-friendly blaster, and again, I think most people will look at this blaster and remind them of the hammershot. And you guys know me, I won't shut up about the hammershot. However, I do think this is a decent offering for a hammershot. However, I still don't think it's the best blaster, but it's not anything bad. It's a fun offering that I can at least say kids are going to have a really fun time with. And again, for an adult, your hands are probably not going to fit on it the best, but I think any kid will pick this up and actually think it's a really cool blaster. And to be honest, I don't really know if I can hate on it that much, because I think the kids are going to have fun with it. As well as the second one, the Corruptor. Now the Corruptor, I gotta give a little bit of a personal kind of gloat, because I was the first review on that blaster, even though I think Dr. Flux was actually the first review. But anyway, the Corruptor is a very unique blaster, because this is another one that I think kids are going to have a blast with. Now for adults, I do not think we're going to have much fun with it, because it has already been prone to a little bit of breakage and just a little bit of over complicated stuff with it. However, I still don't think it's like the worst pickup, because again, I think a kid is going to pick this up and have a lot of fun with it, because this is literally what the Zombie Strike series was for kids, and what I think the Zombie series is trying to do. Make a blaster that is good for kids. And to be honest, I would love to see what this blaster does for children, and I would like to see what child picks this up, because it's overall a pretty fun blaster, and I can at least respect that they tried making it for a child. And who knows? Maybe we'll see this blaster out on the field a lot. I know I haven't yet, but maybe. Next, let's go to Busby. Busby has kind of been very quiet this year. They've been a really silent, and they've only had a few releases, but I wanted to talk about one that honestly blew my mind, and that is the Twist Fury. Now, many of you may not know what the Twist Fury is, but the Twist Fury is actually a 3D printed blaster of what the actual blaster is, called the Skewer. And if you know the Skewer, it is a very accurate and powerful blaster. And I'm amazed that Busby now has one of the creators of that blaster, I think the actual creator, Taffy, who helped design this blaster to get out on the store shelves. The fact that Busby is actually reaching out to creators and actually asking for help is amazing to me. I cannot believe they are actually doing this kind of stuff, and it's insane. It's insane to think that they were actually doing this to actually make blasters from the hobby into real life. Dude, imagine they get a injection molded slab. Oh boy, that will be fun. However, this one is just a nice product. It doesn't perform the best. From what I've seen, it performs decent, just not all that powerful. Is it fun? That's your own kind of depiction. I think the blaster is kind of fun. I haven't found one yet, and I'm hoping to find one soon. But of course, this stock footage from Brickosaurus 227 will help a lot, because it's overall just a really fun product. And I'm really happy that Busby is doing this, because if they continue to do this with other blasters in the hobby and make injection molded versions of them, I'm excited to see what Busby does. You're hearing from me first. I'm actually changed my opinion on Busby. That probably won't be the last time I do that though, so keep that in mind. And then let's jump back over to Nerf real quick, because there's a lot that I need to talk about with Nerf, and that's the N-series. Now, there's really only like 3 blasters that I am going to recommend that you take a look at from the N-series, and that's just because it's weird. I don't really know how I feel about N-series personally, just because I'm not the biggest fan of it right now, but there are blasters that I will recommend you take a look at, like the N-series Splinter. The Splinter is probably the best, like, out of the entire N-series line, because overall, it's a fun product. Like, from what I have seen, it is phenomenal. Almost every single Nerfer I talked to about the blaster has had something good to say about it, and to be honest, I really appreciate that this blaster is good And while I may not get it for a while, unless someone wanted to get me it for like anything, I would say pick it up because it's actually kind of fun. From what I've seen, it's one of the best Ravens that we've had in a while, but there's a lot of other Raven-like blasters that are a lot better. But apparently this one has the smoothest trigger, and overall it just seems fun. I'm excited to see what the Sprinter has to offer the hobby and to see what we can turn it into because it's really fun. Then let's go over to the Strike Bag. Now, this one's not really the most war practical, but it seems so much fun. The action on the blaster to actually recoil it is amazing. It seems like an overall cool looking shotgun, and you know me, I love shotguns. And this one actually seems really cool. The stock, of course, seems really short, but the actual gimmick seems fun, and from what I've seen, it actually works really well, and I'm actually happy that it works as well as it does. So, good points to that blaster. Then let's go to the Pinpoint. Now, the Pinpoint's been another unique blaster because there's been a lot that have worked and there's a lot that don't. And I don't know how I feel about it personally. I've used one and it's really fun. And to be honest, it's okay. I'm not really going to say that much about it just because it's decent. And if you want more information of why I'm so iffy about it, go watch Brickosaurus or the video that you were seeing played over because he had a very bad experience with his and he bought 2 of them. I hope I'm getting that right. But everywhere else I see, it's a good blaster. So I would just recommend give that a watch to find out more information. The main problem that I've seen is it's the magazine. So just take that with a grain of salt, but yeah. Then we got the Infinite. Now the Infinite I have used, but of course stock footage is still going to have to show the blaster in use. And the Infinite is unique. I don't know if I will personally give it the best opinion, but it's still a fun blaster, and it's one of the most unique and more practical out of the series because while yes, the weird chain mag fed thing is weird, it's still overall really fun. I've had decent fun with it, but my biggest gripe with it is trying to load the frickin' thing and get the thing in the blaster, and then it's not the most accurate thing just because the N-series darts are hit and miss with their accuracy, but it's still a fun product nonetheless, so I gotta mention it in this video because, again, I feel like most of these blasters are going to be recommended for kids. For the adults in the hobby, wait till the end. Kind of. But the Infinite is still a decent blaster. It's just, be aware, I think it's more meant for a kid, even though it's ridiculously light. Then let's move to the Agility, the last kind of Nerf thing that I'm going to talk about. The Agility is okay. It's a pistol, and of course pistols are okay, but this one is kind of, it's not really the overall greatest, but it's not bad either. It's, I don't know how to word it. It's definitely okay. It's just, there's not really a whole lot that I could say about it other than it's a nice entry point into the N-series as a whole. And that's one of the best reasons why I'd say you pick it up. If you're a little iffy on what N-series is, get the Agility, because it's overall not a bad product. It works well, it seems to be decently accurate, it performs decent, well, decent as in 80 FPS, which is really great. And overall, just it's not bad at all. I would actually recommend it, even though I haven't used one yet, which that's going to be a theme throughout this video. Now, let's move over to kind of Siren. Siren is another unique blaster brand that I don't want to talk too much about because it's they've been very iffy in the community recently, but there is one that I do need to talk about, and that's the Blink. The Blink is overall the best in the series. It's very powerful, but it's also very accurate, and it works surprisingly well. I have heard nothing but praise about this blaster, and overall, I can actually say I would actually recommend picking it up. I don't know if I will pick it up personally, but I still think it's a phenomenal product, and I think it's really well designed. It seems, my only gripe about it is I wish it was a lot longer because that's what she said. But I just kind of want it to be like a rifle-sized blaster, and unfortunately, it's about the size of a compact SMG. But again, that's only just a personal gripe because I really wish we can get a pro flywheeler that is the size of something like a Nexus Pro. But I'll have to wait to see what 2025 brings. But I'd still say it's a pretty good pickup. Now, for the rest of the series, I'm not really going to go into that because that has been very weird. And now we're going into a lot of pro stuff. Because now, let's talk about the Tactical Unicorn. The Tactical Unicorn is another great, phenomenal product. And if anyone has ever had experience with the Unicorn, this is going to be way up there as well as such a phenomenal product. Because the Unicorn is a good product. It really works well, and I would say overall, it's an amazing product because, again, the Unicorn shines as both a primary and a secondary, where the Unicorn XL works as a very well-built rifle. It's a nice upgrade to the blaster to where if you're kind of a bigger human and you're more of an adult and you want the Unicorn to feel like a primary, this is the blaster for you. It comes with a longer barrel, comes with a upgraded spring, and it overall works really well from what I've seen. I hope to get one day, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But it's still a phenomenal product, and I would really recommend picking it up. Now we got to go into Dart Zone. Dart Zone has been, well, we have to go back to Dart Zone. Dart Zone's been kind of a little unique this year just because, again, most of the blasters that they released are on my list. However, there's a few that I want to go over, and that's the new Mark II that they came out with. So they've done this thing this year to where they kind of reskin a few blasters and release it. And while I think that's really cool, I also kind of wonder why they keep doing it. Because there's not really a whole lot of reason to do it, but I can still respect it because they give some of our favorite blasters, like, again, the Mark II. The Mark II is one of the best pistols in the hobby, and the fact that they are re-releasing it again for a cheaper price and getting an actual HBZ spring in the blaster so you can use it in a war, I really love. I haven't had a chance to get my hands on it yet, but it's one of my hopeful purchases in the future just because I think it's a really great blaster and it's fun, and I've had a lot of time with the Mark II personally. I have target shooted with that thing so many times. I've played with it so many times, and while I don't have one yet, that will probably be when I get a Mark II. You just gotta be a little patient with me on that one, but I'd still recommend it. It's a really great product. Now, let's go into the Omnia, because we have another version of the Omnia Gen 3. Now, this one, from what I've seen, all the kinks have been worked out. It seems to be such a nice reactive trigger, and the accuracy seems to be pretty good. The only thing I've heard a few burnout issues. However, I don't really know much about it because, again, we haven't seen a whole lot on the blaster. There's only like a few reviews I think have been released on the product, and I will hopefully have some kind of stock footage up to show some of it, or at least a picture. However, the blaster itself seems really well done. I would just be cautious just because, again, burnouts have been a kind of a recurring problem with these companies recently, so I kind of hope this one doesn't have too much burnouts. But again, we don't know a whole lot. We haven't seen a whole lot, so just take that with a grain of salt. We'll hopefully see a little more as more people tend to get it, but we'll have to wait and see on that. Then let's go into the Nitro Shot Magnum. Now, we all know the Dart Zone Super Drum Magnum. It is one of the best blasters that Dart Zone made. It was kind of their first step into saying, we're going to destroy the company of Nerf, and wow, that got dark. Essentially come in and say that we have blasters too, and they are really well designed. And this was the first blaster that kind of helped show that. And overall, the Nitro Shot one is really amazing. It comes with the new Nitro Shot darts, which are okay darts. They're pretty good in accuracy, but that's mostly out of like flywheelers or some flywheelers in springers. Not really well because their heads are so rubbery and they're about as thick as the foam itself, so it drags in the barrel. However, I'd still recommend this blaster because, again, it's a good $20 blaster that, honestly, it works well and it feels great, and it's overall a great product. The Magnum is one of the best Dart Zone blasters, and I'm glad it's back on the shelf now. Then let's go into Worker, because Worker has got two really good blasters coming out that are really amazing. So why don't we talk about the Nightingale 2.0? Now, full disclosure, I have actually finally had a chance to use a Nightingale 2.0, and it's a really good product. It's a really good feeling blaster in the hand. It works well, and overall, I just think it's really awesome. It feels amazing to use. Now, I have heard some controversies with the batteries of it, but overall, it's not bad. honestly, I'd actually recommend it a little more over the Venom Pro, because the only downside with this blaster is you have to buy a battery for it. But other than that, I'd still recommend it. It's a really good sidearm, and honestly, it's really fun. I cannot wait to see what Worker does in the future, because that takes us into our last blaster, which, holy crap, I hope to get one day, but I probably will not be able to until Worker sends it me. But that is the Worker Kunlun, or Kunlun, or whatever you want to call it. They have finally made a bolt-action Springer. I have been waiting for this kind of blaster for a long time, and the closest thing we have gotten is the Shellington Siren, which is a phenomenal blaster, but that thing is shell-fed. In order to get it talon-fed, you have to do a converter. With this blaster, you do not need it. It takes talons out of the box, it is a hard hitter at 300 FPS, and holy crap, it seems like so much fun. I have been waiting for a bolt-action Springer like this for a while, and I'm glad Worker delivered. However, the price is one of the harder parts of the blaster. The total price of the blaster comes over to $200. Almost about the same as the Harrier, but a little more. So that's kind of my only downside of the blaster, but everything else I've seen, it's accurate, it's powerful, shoots over 300 FPS, and oh my god. I hope to get it one day, but $200 is a pretty hefty asking price. I honestly hope I can get closer to the day that Worker starts sending me blasters, but we'll see what happens. But that is a really good blaster that I highly recommend for anyone who is wanting a really good bolt-action Springer, because holy crap, Worker has done it. And they have made a blaster that I've been wishing for quite some time. But that is all I have for you today, Dude Bros. Thank you so much for watching. And again, a lot of these blasters are just kind of what I would recommend you pick up, because 2024, like I said, has been a very weird year for blasters. But in the case of using these kinds of blasters, there have been a lot of good, there's been a lot of bad, but I'm happy with what has been good. So I hope you guys had an amazing Christmas. I hope you guys had an amazing season, and I cannot wait to see what 2025 brings for blasters. But much love, blast on, and stay tight.